Okay, let's actually take a simple look at generating and then pushing a message onto a storage queue.
I want to walk you through the process of actually working with messages in a message queue. And I'm working against an actual production queue. Well, not a production queue, but it's a queue in Azure. It's not in the Azure emulator. And I'm going through the process of connecting to the queue, making sure the queue exists, and then popping messages onto the queue and reading messages back off of the queue. And this is going to be a cooking show demo because it's all kind of done, but I just want to walk you through the basics of this. So let's go ahead without further delay and go through this. So the process starts, as is the case with all storage. Actually, let me take a step back. Before the process starts, let's look at the messages that we're going to queue and dequeue. And the idea of this is very simple. Maybe, again, it's kind of some relate what actually is exactly what I did in the previous demo, where we've got a system where we've got customer service and people request live chat, and those requests go into a queue. And here's the information on the chat request. So it's got 5 properties, IP address, email, logged, whether you have notes, which I don't do anything with, and the chat type. And chat type is an enum, just to kind of have a little fun with it. There's the enum for chat type. And then I also have a serialized method and a deserialized method. These use the Newtonsoft JSON tools, which are just amazing. I've got JSON convert serialized object, very simple, that just returns a string serialization, a JSON serialization of the object, and then I can deserialize it back just as easily. Okay, and so in any case, that's giving me the actual chat object. Now, how am I going to use that chat object? Now we'll go back up here. So the first 3 lines of code there, lines 18 through 20, are kind of the standard. I've done it several times. I use a Cloud Configuration Manager to get a connection string. I use that to get a storage account, and I use a storage account to get a Cloud Queue client. Within the Cloud Queue client, again, this is also a very similar pattern, lines 22 and 23. I get to the queue by retrieving a reference, and I make sure that the reference exists. And make sure that you don't use any capital letters, otherwise you'll get frustrated not saying that I did that. Okay, now the next step here is just creating an array of request objects. These are my objects, chat request objects, and so I'm just putting some information in there. Not really that critical. And then I simply pop them, or I push them onto the queue. You don't really use push and pop, which are concepts I usually think about with queuing, but it's not exactly that type of queue anyway, so it's fine. In any case, what I do is I create a cloud message object, and I take the request. So I'm cycling through the requests and the array of requests. For each request, I use a serialized method to convert it to a string. I use that string in the constructor to create a cloud queue message, and then I add the cloud queue message to the queue with the add message. Yes, I could have done all that in one line, but I thought I'd break it up. Okay, so that's going to pop messages onto the queue, and if you watched the previous example or demonstration, you would have seen the results of that. I had 3 messages in the queue. Now, I want to pop them back off, and I can't help the terminology, so I get to declare my own variable, so I did that. So in any case, pretty simple. I use the get message, queue.get message, and as long as it returns a message, then pop is not going to be null. I could have also used peek. The difference between get message and peek is that, or peek message, is that get message is going to set the message as invisible, so nobody else is going to be able to see it while I have it. And there's options you can set, like how long you want to keep it. There's a time to live that you can set, and so all sorts of stuff you can do. In any case, I'm using the defaults there, and then what I'm doing is I'm taking that message, which is a queue message, same type of message as I put up there. I'm taking the as string property, and I'm using the deserialize to convert that back into one of my chat request objects. The deserialize method, again, that's one I wrote. All right. And then I'm just putting the request object out. I just overrode the very simple toString, and then I delete the message. And very importantly, when I'm done, I pull off the next message on line 46 with a pop queue. Pop.get, excuse me, pop equals q.get message. I probably should watch my terminology. In any case, there we go. And then finally, I'm done. All right. And at the end of the day, what I get is a nice list of chat requests. These are chat requests that were popped back off. I know I should give you more things like what's going on, but we saw it. Okay. And they were all popped on there within the same second. And then I popped them all back off. And if I go to my Cloud Explorer, if I go to chat request is currently empty. And just so that there is no mistake, we'll go ahead and we'll run it one more time up to there. And so we'll be able to at least see. So that's popped all the message on there. And if I refresh, there's the 3 messages that were popped on. And then if I continue, there they were popped off, and you can see that they show up in here. And if I go back to my chat request queue this time, they're now gone. Okay, so that's the basic process, pretty easy to work with. And again, you see the exact same type of pattern that we have for all storage, right? We get our account, we get our client, we get the queue or table or container. We then add things to it, we pull things back off, and we work with them. Easy enough.
Remember that storage queue messages are going to be strings. They're going to be relatively small. So think about what you need to pop onto or push onto that queue, and whether or not, if you've got objects, if they're going to be serializable into that string, right? But the advantage of this, of course, is that you have a universality.